But for those of you that are here right now, welcome to Kensington Wine Market, Scotch Malt Whisky Society of Canada, October Outturn. My name is Evan. With me are Harmony on the whiskey side of the staff and Marnie on the wine side of the staff. Marnie joined us last week or last month as well, and obviously is not tired of us yet, or at least likes the whiskey. So thank you, Marnie, for joining us as well. We will get started here in just a minute. Hopefully you guys saw the lineup order in the email that went out. I'm just adding it in on the chat again for those of you that didn't. The PDF file for the blind portion of the tasting, which we're going to run through first, was in there as well. So if you want to open that up and join along on that, you can. I might share my screen and show a bit of it here and there as well. But yeah, welcome. Can't believe it is October already, but I'm glad we get to celebrate the beginning of October with another Scotch Malt Whisky Society lineup. As always, we will run through this lineup twice, but as we do with Scotch Malt Whisky Society tastings. First time around will be our lightning round, as we like to call it, where we will taste through things quickly and give our thoughts on it as we go through. Harmony and Marnie and I might comment as we go along on what we taste, and you guys are welcome to join in on the chat as well. And keep some in your glass so that on the second time around, we can reveal what the missing information is, including the distillery this whiskey comes from, the age of the bottle, and how much that bottle is going to cost you if you're looking for one. You guys get first stab at the bottles. We have all these in stock right now as well, so I'll put in the links when we're doing the reveal as well. And you can order away tonight if you like, before the rest of the bottles get gobbled up by the live tasting people tomorrow. Feel free to make one sell out just so they're very, very angry at you. Don't mind. But with that being said, let's jump into some whiskey with whiskey number 1, which is called Exceedingly Exquisite. That is 50.6% alcohol. Relatively low ABV for a cask strength society bottle. We've definitely been seeing ones in the low and even mid 60s lately. So let's see what this one is like.
Like
and for those of you,
honey note to it, like a thick honey.
Yeah, it does have that really rich honey with some even like almost like a clover note in there as well. I'm going to share the my screen for the those of you guys that don't have the blind tasting notes open here, because this is from a closed distillery. Who knows what that means? It could mean that there's some age to it, but we'll just have to wait and see. This did start its life in a set, or was started its life in a combination of ex-bourbon barrels, and then a portion of those, or maybe what was left, was finished in 1 second fill ex-bourbon barrel before it was bottled.
Yeah, very perfumey.
Yeah. Yeah, it does have this underlying floral note to it. Nice vanilla and even into chamomile tea on there for me as well. Chris says honey and clove on the nose. Almost a little bit heathery as well. Heathery and leathery. Society's notes do mention Manuka honey right up top. Sandalwood and lemon balm.
It's like really peppery and spicy.
Yeah.
And the Society's fruit.
Yeah, it is really nicely fruity. Soft peppery warmth is what the Society says on the palate. It is on the softer side. There isn't like a real hard edge to this one at all for me.
There's like an acidity to it. I don't think it's just the alcohol.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does have a little bit of a zing on the tongue there.
Mm-hmm. I think this one will need some time to open up. I always feel bad for the first
Mhm.
whiskey.
Yeah, nice bit of wood spice in there as well. Almost like not full on cheesy on the palate, but a touch of like applewood cheddar for me on the palate there too.
Very nice. Yeah.
There's along with that applewood cheddar note there, when I go back to the nose now, there's a little bit more of a mustiness coming through. Maybe a bit of Dunnage warehouse in there.
Yeah, I didn't realize from your screen share, I didn't pick up that this is a black label.
Yeah,
That was
so you know it's going to be
with.
cheap. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that does need a little bit of time, but it is showing nicely right now.
Mhm.
It will be fun to revisit. Like I said at the beginning, definitely keep some in your glasses as we're going through, just so we can revisit them on the second time around when we do the reveal. Chris Walker is putting it out there and guessing $135 for this black label. Chris, you can barely get Johnny Walker black label for that price right now. So I hope you're right too, but I'm not holding my breath. Okay, let's since this is a lightning round, let's jump right into number 2, which is called Sweetly Modern. My guess is this might be a little bit younger than the first one. Society on the blind pamphlet, it does say first appearance from this distillery for the Scotch Malt Whisky Society of Canada. This was entirely aged in a first fill ex-bourbon hogshead, 288 bottles from the Outturn, 60.1% alcohol, so just, well, 9.5% higher than the last one.
It is so creamy, like creamy vanillas and
Yeah,
coffee,
like
chocolate.
a lemon meringue in there as well, like something citrusy, but creamy and candied at the same time.
Definitely. Again, I mean, I get this often, and I said it earlier today at our tasting, but like buttered coffee.
Mhm. Yeah, butterscotch and toffee, a bit of a buttery note even in there, as you're saying, with the buttered toffee. A little bit of candied ginger while I'm on the candy kick there as well.
Mhm. Tyler says lemon shortbread.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That the shortbread's a good note. It even has like that shortbread, almost like a fresh baked, little bit slightly toasty shortbread note on the palate, and that citric slash sort of candied lemon note continues on the palate for me. Going back to the nose after that, I'm getting a little bit of linseed oil as well. Sunflower seeds.
mm,
Will Christie's asking minerality on it.
yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. And Weetabix cereal now too. Like the cereal is really coming out.
I was getting like sesame seeds as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah, sesame seeds is a good one. Tasty. Definitely a fair bit different, coming off as more youthful versus the first one. Also not in a black bottle, so maybe this one is just slightly over that 135 mark. We'll just have to see.
Mhm.
Okay, on to number 3 as we keep it moving. Love the name for this one. This one's called That HEILAN FEELIN. From a first fill expert barrel, 169 bottles from the Outturn, 56.9% alcohol. So HEILAN as in Highlands for this one in the spelling, HEILAN with an apostrophe. I'm assuming they're going for HEILAN with the feel in there.
Oh man, this is like a chocolate fudge brownie with like 2 kinds of nuts. Like it's like peanuts
Yeah.
and walnutty.
It also has a little bit of like you're working with clay, sort of earthiness and slightly sort of like damp earth note to it. This is what Demi Moore was tasting when she was at the Potter's Wheel in Ghost.
There's even like an old leather. It's like really soft leather note in there.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some freshness to it as well. Like
Yeah.
Lemongrass or some sort of really pretty herb
Oh,
quality.
lemongrass is a good call.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah, Society mentions burlap right up front too, and it does have that character to it again, that sort of musty, dusty character. But I agree on the fresh herbal sense coming through there as well.
Mm.
There's oh, what is that herb? I'm trying to think of the name now. It's got a slightly bumpy, like very textured leaf, and it has that almost like Doug Page. In this case, it is not weed that I'm thinking of. I can see where you're going with that, but this one is one where you like rub the leaf, and it's got this almost like slightly piney, but also slightly going into lemongrass note to it. I just can't remember what it is. And Jen, unfortunately, I have no idea what borage is. Unless that's meant to be porridge. Sunflower seeds, again, on the palate for me. A little bit of toasted almonds in there as well. Finish is a little bit more nutty and maybe even a little bit more wood driven than the previous one.
Yeah. It's still waxy. Like
waxy is a good call. Yeah.
It really like grips your tongue, and then like maybe that's wood as well. Is this first fill of bourbon or refill bourbon?
First fill ex bourbon barrel on the HEILAN FEELIN, or that HEILAN FEELIN. That name should give away that this is likely from the Highlands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jen
Jen,
is cucumbery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see where you're going with the cucumbers. Like it with that creaminess. Sorry, go ahead, Marty.
Yes, especially peel, right? Like
Yeah.
the core of the cucumber, the fruit of the cucumber is far different than the peel, so it's got a bit of both. I think it's a good call.
Well, and when going into like cucumber notes, it almost has a little bit of a tzatziki sauce, like creaminess to it on the nose with a little bit of lemon.
Yeah.
Okay, on to number 4. Number 4 is called Lose Yourself by the Fire. Started its life in an ex-bourbon hogshead. Was finished in a first fill ex Oloroso hogshead, so we should be getting a little bit of sherry cask influence off this one. 292 bottles from the Outturn, 58% alcohol. Wow, that's almost going into balsamic on the nose for me right now. Like just a really fresh homemade salad dressing.
Yeah, and like throw in some like dark berry, blackberry, blueberry into that production for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Olive oil just to soften everything up.
Yeah. Got a little bit of that like distant kind of inexpensive incense, you know, like almost like a sage or something, but it's not the expensive ones.
Actually, now that you say it, sage, I think is the one that I was looking for on that when I was trying to think of the herb.
Okay.
But
It's a good call, sage like fool.
mhm.
Mm,
It's a pretty clean nose, like despite the two different casks in there, it's almost like a little bit tightly wound right now.
Mhm.
Sun-dried fruits, but I'm trying to tease out more of that sherry, and it seems to be pretty closed in right now.
Yeah, that balsamic or vinaigrette dressing really
Mm.
comes through for me on the palate. Like,
Oh yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's
that is.
the
It is
phenotype.
really zinging, like almost has this tartness on the front of the tongue in a really cool manner.
yeah. Marnie, did you say almost like a pheno?
Well, no, the pheno comes through on the palate, I think. It was
Mhm.
aged in pheno cask, right? Part of it was?
No, this is ex-bourbon
Oloroso.
hogshead to Oloroso
Oh,
hogshead. Yeah. Mm. After tasting it, the Oloroso does come out more on the palate or on the nose too. I mean,
Oh yeah, those big dried fruits really show through, and
yeah, even a little bit more into like a tangerine note, some orange notes coming through there as well on the palate, a little bit candied.
and almost like a rum raisin at the same time.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's a good call.
They're like dates or something in that regard.
Yeah, this is the Christmas cake that instead of rum they use Grand Marnier, I would say.
There you go. Yeah, that's a good one.
it has a leather quality to it.
It does, like texture wise, even like that slight dryness coming through.
Yeah. I mean, and you look at an Oloroso sherry, it's gonna have a ton of those tertiary characteristics like leather as well. That's good.
I'm definitely gonna add water to that one on the second time through just to see what happens. But I'm leaving it as is for now.
I've added one drop to every glass as we finish, just seeing how it's gonna open up as we go. I probably don't need it, but it'll be a fun experiment.
Yeah. Jen says, I saw this one at number 4 in the lineup and assumed that more than half the tasting was peaty, but the name is misleading. It is. Although we are going into peated and then back out of peated and then into peated for the next 3. There are 2 peated whiskeys in here that I kind of broke up just because number 6 is a pretty big and potent dram. Chris Walker says this Loser Self is his favorite so far. Well, let's see if we can change that with number 5, Chris. Number 5 is called A Marriage Made in Heaven. And this started its life in an ex-bourbon hogshead, was finished in a refill sherry hogshead, 245 bottles from the Outturn, 59.4% alcohol. And we are in peated territory, just based on that nose.
Oh, definitely. It is a weird peat. It doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Islay peat. I would say possibly a Highland.
Yeah, it does have this like the peat's there but not there at the same time on the nose. Like it does have this underlying like
Melon, lemon.
deep melon lemon, but also like deeply coastal underneath there. Like everything is poured over a bed of seashells somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice fruit. No, it's still really malty and grain driven at the same time on the nose. Yeah, bad news, Tyler. It's an Ardbeg, so it's definitely not cheaper.
That makes sense.
Wow. Yeah.
I like that.
Has some coastal notes going on. You know, it could be
For sure.
It could be Kalila. Perhaps.
Yeah, this is like one of those like it's weird because it doesn't seem like it's a really like heavily peated whiskey, but at the same time, my nose just keeps on like diving into it deeper and deeper, like it's got some depth.
Yeah. And I'm starting to pick up those sherry notes a little bit more, getting past those bourbon and peat even. There's definitely some older, I
Man,
feel
that's
like a used sherry casks. Like it's like big and in your face with some of those dark fruits and spices, but it's taming down into that leather and dried fruit. It's a little bit more muddled in.
that palate is
Mm.
killer. Like it's
Mm.
this whole whiskey is almost a submarine. Like it just kind of like goes by under the water unassuming, and you don't even notice what's happening on top. But as soon as you see it, you can't get away from it. It's that is a really good dram.
Yeah.
Will Christie says bacon. Just nosing the glass after tasting it, and I'm getting bacon all over the place now.
Evan's awfully quiet this evening.
Mhm.
Mm.
Mm.
I'm loving that. Interesting.
Yeah, that's good. Even the like very like overly crispy bacon char note on the palate right now. This is the way my daughter likes her bacon, where even the fat is black almost.
Yeah, when the bacon starts to turn like orange and it's just
Yeah,
so thick you can barely
that's right.
they're thin, pardon me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no meat left, just sodium. Tyler says high bar for the number 5 spot. Well, save your money for that Ardbeg there, Tyler. Let's go on to number 6 for a little bit of whiplash.
Awesome.
Number 6 is called At Home on the Range. Started its life in an ex Oloroso butt, but that wasn't enough. So they finished it in a second fill PX butt. 500 bottles from the Outturn, 66.9% alcohol. And I'm telling you now, this is not a rum. This is also, despite the high alcohol, at least for me, very tightly wound on the nose. Yeah, this is, Doug, this is one of those rare peated whiskey or rare Scottish whiskeys where they actually aged it in 7th floor of a Kentucky rickhouse. It is so tightly wound that I'm having trouble getting stuff out of there. Like
peaches.
Peaches. I'm gonna say sunflower oil or even into grapeseed oil on the nose. A little bit nutty.
Yeah.
A little bit more fruit coming through there. Peaches, I agree with. Even into those dried pears that we sometimes get from peasant cheese on the cheese boards.
Yeah.
Chris says you have to snort a line of this to get anything out on the nose.
I just put a few drops of water in. But you also do it
to each their own.
Way.
A few drops of water or through $100 bill rolled up, one or the other. Either way works.
Wow. Oh man, that palette is awesome.
Oh wow. Yeah, I agree. That is like kind of stealthy like the last one, where it is like you're like, oh, okay, so it's a little bit spicy, and then it just kind of builds in the fruit notes and more comes through.
And you get a little bit of like, for me, it's like barbecued, like grilled fruits, like
grilled peaches.
Yeah.
Grilled peaches.
Grilled peaches,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
Chris says palate is pretty spectacular. I agree.
I do too.
Oh, which
And you
means
can see how like
talking about
this,
the palate, he didn't snort it, so.
yeah. No, that's retronasal is what he's getting there.
Yeah, it's grilled stone fruits and pineapples. I would agree with that. There's some like nice
Ooh.
acidity in there.
Yeah, pineapple. I am full on with you on that. It even almost has the texture of like a dull pineapple juice on the palate. Like it's rich, but also just a little bit gritty. That palate on that easily like plows over the peated whiskey we just had.
Yeah. There's
That's a fun one.
Nice peppery notes in there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Peppery, but not like, oh my God, this is so peppery, like just a nice integrated pepper.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And white pepper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say white pepper more than anything. Yeah.
Chris, you know, I think you're onto something there. Chris says, I think it's helped by the ABV. I agree. Like, I wonder what this would be like if it was cut down to 50% or so. Like, it would probably be pleasant, but I like this concentration that it's at. Wow. Well, let's see if it overpowers number 7 even. Number 7 is called the Trinidadian Ileach of Kennethmont, or from Kennethmont, pardon me. That's a mouthful. Sounds like a great sort of like BBC like murder series.
This to me, I'm getting like a melted chocolate chip mint ice cream in a cone, like a
I
waffle.
could see that. It's got some crazy waxiness to it along with that. Like it's like a hyper creamy peanut butter. It's the peanut butter that they put into Reese's peanut butter cups, where it's mostly sugar with just a dollop of peanut butter. Brown sugar in there as well. What's that?
Which in that case is mostly sugar.
Exactly. So Trinidadian is this is started its life in an ex-bourbon barrel, was finished in a refill Trinidad rum barrel. So there's where the name came from. 10th of September, 218 bottles from the Outturn, still at 62.2% alcohol. Doug, it could be Corona. I'm not sure.
Oh, wow.
Or if this is actually a Scottish whiskey, maybe it's a macaroni. Thank you, thank you. I'll be here all night. Tip your waitress.
Oh, that's
I know you love me, Doug.
Oh wow, that palette.
This is a really cool nose. Gingerbread cookies with a good dollop of molasses in there.
I think I need water in this one.
Tons of brown sugar notes. Even into like shreddy cereal with brown sugar on top. Still quite cereal driven on there.
I get way more coastal notes out of this. Like there's definitely sweetness here, but it's very like peat driven for me.
Well, Tyler says the sardine caper note is all I can smell once I read it. That must be in the Society's tasting notes. Capers I can totally see there. That's a cool note.
Yeah.
It does have some coastal notes to it, probably where the Ileach comes from. Even, well, we'll have to see if this is from Islay or not.
Chris says the nose reminds him of sponge toffee with the boozy vanilla icing. And Doug says he's only got the capers on this so far.
And Will says the name totally gives away the distillery.
Kennethmont.
How? They name like 3 different regions in the name.
It's Ileach.
Could be.
Could be. Very cool.
Oh man. I was stuck nosing it and I forgot to taste it, and now I just did. Chris Walker says vanilla buttercream icing on the palate. It does have that. It also has Mrs. Vicky's salt and vinegar chips right now for me. It's not like super vinegar heavy, but it does have a little bit of that to it. Mike B says doesn't seem heavily peated to me, less peated than number 5 for me. Yeah, I agree. I think the number 5 has more of that deep dark peat note. This one is more of that malty driven sort of like slightly peated note. Oh, pardon me. I guess, is it Miss Vic's? Miss Vicky's? Sorry, I thought she was taken. I wasn't aware.
Now you got your shot. It's still open there.
Mhm. Man, this is that's a wild whiskey.
Yeah,
What a great use of a rum cask, I must say.
yeah. Rum cask finishes aren't usually my favorite, but that one seems to work well together.
Yeah, no kidding. So before we that was a very fast lightning round, but before we go back for the reveal, do you guys want to chime in with any favorites or anything so far? What do you think, Harmony? Or sorry, you're muted.
Sorry, my dog is being a pain in the butt. I I don't even remember which one. The grilled peaches. I'm digging that one. Oh, number 4 smells excellent right now.
Mhm.
That up.
Chris says 6 and 7 are his favorites. I gotta say 5 and 7 for me so far, although I did like 6 quite a bit. I really liked both peated whiskeys.
I don't know. Off the noses, 5 and 7. I'm really enjoying, or 4 and 7. Sorry. I mean, I like 5 too, but
I'm just going back to 5 quickly right now, just to see if there's anything more on the palate or on the nose for me. Does have a little bit more like a slight olive brine note coming out for me right now. But it's like you dump some olive juice on your counter and you try to like clean it up with a dryer sheet. That dryer sheet just isn't soaking it all up. It's not a Bounty paper towel, that's for sure.
they look very similar though.
Yeah, they do. From a distance with your glasses off. They look very similar.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm go ahead there, Harmony.
Will says, fingers crossed that number 1 is really only 135. I assume Will really likes it. B says number 2 for him, and he's happy it's not a black label. And Steve says 7, 5, and 6. So
well, not to spoil it for you, but maybe we could do dramples of number 5 and sell them for or number 1 and sell them for $135.
let's do that.
Yeah.
Per pour.
Yeah. But let's jump back in and go and taste number 1 again and see where we're at, and then we'll do the reveal. Peaches, peaches, peaches on the nose right now. Even into like honeysuckle and peach blossom notes for me.
Yeah, the honeysuckle hits home for me.
I really like that sort of like, it's almost like a grilled mushroom note that I get on the palate right now, like where the mushroom oils are there, but it's gotten sweeter with the cooking as well.
Yeah.
That like truffle. Wow.
Still getting a bit of that applewood cheddar, but peaches and pineapples now on the nose. Even
Yeah,
into mango.
it's quite fruit forward with this acidity, but then it dries out. You're still salivating
Mhm.
that fruit, so it's very nice.
To me, this is quite an elegant whiskey.
Yeah,
Mhm.
very much so.
It's beautifully balanced.
Yeah, elegant, and not just because it's in a black bottle, like elegant because it's actually elegant as well.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, for the reveal. Anybody want to, well, I guess it's hard to do this. Oh, Chris. Well, Chris, you're slowly creeping closer to the price on this one. If you bump it up by $15 increments, by the time we hit tomorrow, you might get there. So just to give you an idea, this is a closed distillery. Closed distilleries, the whiskeys that you get from them, by the time we get the closed distillery bottlings, usually they're older. This one is 25 years old.
Okay.
It is from Speyside.
Mhm. That narrows it down.
Yeah. And we do still see bottlings of this distillery. Doug is getting pretty close there. He says Caper Imperial. I'm guessing he doesn't mean Caper as a tasting note there. I think I know which distillery he's talking about. This distillery is Caperdonic or Caperdonic for you, Doug. So yeah, Caperdonic distillery, closed distillery. It's been closed for quite a while now. And the cask number on this one is 38.34. For those of you that were guessing 135, maybe close your eyes as I share my screen here, because that is not the price.
Okay.
Holy.
Yep.
Rub your wallet and hope it's a genie.
Yeah. So $135 for that sample bottle of it if you're looking for us to pour dramples.
Sounds fair.
Mm.
Bold and dignified as its flavor profile.
Agreed. From the 26th of July, 1996, 221 bottles from the Outturn. Yeah, it's pricey, but not seeing a lot of Caperdonic these days. These now. Usually it's all going to be at the 25 plus range, but they all kind of like Imperial have this nice soft waxiness to them, have great tropical fruit notes. This one is really nicely put together, for me at least. Did you guys add water to that one?
No.
I did. I put a drop in.
And?
It didn't change it a lot. It just made those fruit notes really come through. The waxiness luckily was still there. That like nice round mouthfeel is still there.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
the waxiness does stick around with water. I just added a few drops myself.
Yeah, it's nice. It just kind of adds another layer to it. I didn't want to go too heavy because I think it's just very lovely as it is. And obviously, if you buy this one, you know, let it breathe, pour it, go hold the laundry, let it breathe in the glass.
That's
like
right. Well, I gotta say, water, I added like 3 drops to it, and it holds together very, very nicely. Like it does not fall apart at all. Honestly, water didn't change it a whole lot
It
for me.
didn't.
No.
Which is good because at that price, let's make that last a little longer.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, here is the link for that Caperdonic. Now on to Sweetly Modern. Whiskey number 2.
Get a little bit of a kind of a Sharpie note on there.
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol compared to the last one. Just
What color?
Yeah. It's black. Thin
Black
tip.
Sharpie?
Yeah. Not the fat tip though. It's just
No.
yeah. Maybe a mix of red Sharpie.
Yeah, I think it is like a Sharpie cocktail in there. I agree with you. Just adding a few drops to this one just to see what happens.
It's still very floral underneath all that though, and just the other one smells like really rich and fruity, and this one just still feels like tight and dry, and even
Mhm.
with the Sharpie, it feels like it's gonna be bitter.
So the candied citrus note that I was getting does stick around with water. It goes into almost like a sort of like a Jolly Rancher note on the nose with those candied notes. Mike says liking this one less on second pass.
It's like
Maybe we can
someone
skip
took
right
my
to the
favorite-
third pass then.
Yeah, it's like someone took a Jolly Rancher and then used a fat tip Sharpie and then like colored all over it.
Yeah, I don't want a yellow Jolly Rancher. I want a black Jolly Rancher.
Yeah, and I'm not even getting licorice, like. Very.
Really nice cereal note still on the palate, and almost has that texture of like a matcha tea, like that sort of like
Okay.
slightly grainy creaminess to it.
Yeah.
I like that one with water, actually. I think it works really well.
Yeah.
So this is Speyside Distillery again. First time we've seen this distillery from the SMWS on the Canada side of things. It is definitely younger than the 25-year-old Caprodonic that we tried earlier. This is 9 years old from the 10th of September 2013.
Mm.
Share my screen here, and then I'm going to have to cheat after that and look at what distillery this is, because I cannot remember what distillery number 60 is just because we never see it. So this is cast number 60.31. $144.99 for this guy. One, pardon me. This says 9-year-old Speyside up top, and then they classified it as Highlands down below. I'm gonna take a look at what this distillery actually is here.
Will says it's Aberfeldy in the chat.
Yeah, that's right. It is Aberfeldy. Surprising that this is the first time we've seen an Aberfeldy from the society. 60th distillery that the society ever bottled, but only the 31st cast. So that probably has something to do with it. And thinking of it, it's pretty rare that you actually see a lot of independent bottlings of that Aberfeldy out there. Doug says neat to have an Aberfeldy above 40% alcohol. I agree. They're kind of like, their official bottlings are remarkably good for being at 40% alcohol.
Mhm.
Sorry,
I added a lot, like a full pipette of water, and the fruit really comes through more. I think the alcohol is kind of hiding its pretty palate for me anyway.
Mhm.
Yeah, it does well with water for me. I don't know if anyone else added water and their thoughts, but.
So stylistically, thinking of the Aberfeldy official bottlings, it does kind of remind me of the 16-year-old. The 12, I feel, is a little less fruit driven than this, a little bit more honeyed. The 16 does get a bit more fruit coming through for me. And Will Christie points out there are more Caprodonic SMWS bottlings than there are Aberfeldy bottlings. Well,
Interesting.
yeah, at some point that will change, given that Caprodonic's closed, but not yet.
So what's the price on this bad boy?
145 on this guy.
Hey, look at that, Chris. You can afford a bottle tonight.
Yeah. There's a link that are looking for those of you that want to delve further into that one. And on to number 3, that HEILAN FEELIN.
This just smells like peanut butter now. And chocolate.
Yeah, this is another one of those distillery numbers that I don't know or don't recall off the top of my head too. So we are in the Highlands proper this time.
Mhm. You got like apple, apples and nuts on here as well, like almost like a caramel apple with peanut butter, and then you coat it with some like walnuts or peanuts.
Yeah, very much nutty and nut driven on the nose right now.
Even the palate for me.
Yeah. This
I
is
did
it, like
put it
even
down.
opening up a bottle, or like, well, essentially the bottle, the canister of Planters peanuts right now.
Yeah. Jordan says his partner is guessing this could be Anna.
Ooh. Your partner may be onto something, but I'll have to double check, Jordan. I can see where he's going with that though, because Anok or Noctu tends to have that structure to it as well. It's a perfect pairing for spicy chickpeas, apparently, according to Jen. Steve says this is a solid 7th place dram. Well, I'm glad it didn't fall further than that for you, Steve. Tyler, we are just on number 3. We tried to hold for you while you were away there. Okay, so for the reveal of that HEILAN FEELIN, this is 13 years old from the 9th of January, 2009. And cast number is 94.34, which makes it, as I go ahead and cheat it here again. Oh yeah, I totally forgot that this one was in here. This is from Fettercairn Distillery.
Oh, very cool.
Or as Will Christie says, Fettercairn.
Very interesting. They're doing a masterclass on Fettercairn at the Banff Whiskey Experience, which is very interesting because there's like one pour bottling here and it's not very good.
Yeah, I was gonna say that not necessarily the distillery right now that everybody's like clamoring for a masterclass for either.
No.
Just because I think everybody's kind of waiting to see exactly what Fettercairn is, given that it's been like revamped and closed and reopened and kind of had at least a fairly tumultuous history when it comes to their own official bottlings as well.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because their independent bottlings aren't bad, but there's also not a lot of them. And so if you're doing your own maturation, you still don't quite know what they're offering. As an identity, but this is okay.
Well, now that I've checked and recalled that this is Fettercairn, this does have, I would say probably the Fettercairns I've tasted the most of have been older Fettercairn, and specifically from like 1988 or so, because and the early 90s because of Signatory. We've had quite a few Signatory vintage Fettercairns over the years. The whiskey agency, I think, has bottled some older ones, including in '88 as well. Graham Tyler is saying G&M does a good job on Fettercairns. I don't know that I've had a G&M Fettercairn that I can recall, but it's something that I'll have to look out for. Will asking if the Fettercairn is also in the Claxton's tasting. Will, let me check that bottle shot.
I'm checking right now.
Harmony's on it for you. Harmony actually took the bottle shot, so she's double checking for you.
I should know this. Yeah, I think it is. Hold on.
I stopped looking at the shot as soon as I saw it had a Tobermory because that's all I needed to know.
We were done.
To attend that one.
We were done. No, I don't think it's actually in the tasting.
We'll have to do a Claxton's round 2 and toss that in there. So price on 94.34, that HEILAN FEELIN is $194. And I did share the link up there, but if you need it again, there it is.
Sorry, what was the age on this? I don't have
13 years old.
Okay.
There's parts of it that actually come off as older than that. That sort of nuttiness that I'm getting.
Yeah.
Again, does remind me of some of those signatory older bottlings that I've had.
It also kind of reminds me of Jim Beam. If it's a first fill bourbon.
Mhm. That peanutty note.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, we should actually, someone track down that cask from the society and see if it says Claremont, Kentucky on there. Wouldn't surprise me at all. It does have that starchiness to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Takes well to water too, by the way. A
Yes.
little bit more pear and pineapple coming through there. Will, I'm sorry to say, if you're looking for a $135 bottle, it might not be in this lineup. The good news is we also already had our most expensive bottle of the night, so it's only downhill from number one there. Okay, let's go on.
Sorry for
to
setting
losing
your
ourselves by the
expectations
fire.
too low.
What's that?
Well, I apologize for setting Will's expectations too low.
Yeah, Chris, I didn't want to tell you anything in front of everybody else, but you have ruined this tasting for everybody.
Chris anchoring Walker.
Yeah, we're all holding on to that anchor at the bottom of the ocean right now.
And you watered down by whiskey.
Yeah. The sherry on the nose is coming off a bit more now for me on this one, second time around. A little bit earthy as well. This is a fall dram. Like it reminds me of like cleaning up leaves in the backyard as they fall off the tree. Nice walnut note with the nuttiness in there right now too. Almost into walnut liqueur.
There's also a hint of like black licorice in here.
Nibs. Or that natural licorice that Sammy brought in.
Oh yeah.
Did you try
Right?
it?
Yeah. It was good.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't need to. I could smell it all around the store. Everyone was chewing on it.
Yeah, I think I missed that during my time of COVID a couple of weeks back, so I wasn't there, but it does have a little bit of a Dutch licorice note to it on the palate.
Yeah.
It's got a butterscotch ice cream.
Yeah,
Can go with me. No.
I was trying to figure out what kind of dried fruit I got off this because I get dried fruits all the time on cherry casks, and it does have bitter raisins, but also into dried apricots right
Yeah.
now for me.
Mhm.
Okay, so Lose Yourself by the Fire is 15 years old. It spent 10 years in the next bourbon hogshead before being transferred to a refill sherry hogshead, and that's where the sherry comes from. Distilled on the 1st of September 2008. And this is a Glenlossie, I believe. I'll have to double check that, but this is cask number 46.137. And I am not going crazy. Glenlossie is distillery number 46.
Will, do you just have all of these memorized, or did you print it out? You're so quick with all of these. It's impressive.
Will's the resident KWM fact checker when we don't have Mr. Cheese Bun himself in here.
Yeah, yeah. He's joined the BC group. We haven't been seeing him in here.
That's right. So cask number 46.137 for the Glenlossie, 15 years old. As I said, $227.99 for this guy.
Okay.
This one definitely needs time in the glass just to open it up. It's still opening up more and more
It is,
for me.
yeah. I'm getting those like fruit skins. I said red apple skins. As they're starting to brown on here, but you're like, if there's still enough apple, I kind of cut it a little deep. I'm gonna eat that piece of skin.
And Will has confirmed he's a huge cheater. We will attempt not to tell your spouse, but we appreciate the honesty.
Yeah, this is changing quite a bit.
Yeah. Did
I
you add
haven't
water to
tried
yours,
it.
sword?
Oh, I did, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt it. It's fine. I get scared sometimes with sherry casks to add
Totally.
water, but it doesn't seem to mind.
Yeah, same here. And especially sherry cask finishes a lot of the
Yeah.
a lot of the time.
Yeah, I really like the nose on this, but I still haven't decided if I like the palate.
With water, the nose goes more into like caramel bar, like milk chocolate and caramel or butterscotch for me.
It
Stays
rem-
really creamy.
Marnie, do you get any of those like nut bars and your hiking
Yeah.
bar gets out of that?
You mean what I eat for lunch?
Yeah,
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, for sure.
totally. I can smell your lunch from here. Like
Yeah, the Larabar peanut butter.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, I get that peanut butter note too there still. I like that one. Okay, back to the first peated dram of the night, number 5, Marriage Made in Heaven.
oh man. Try not to like join the crowd when it's like, what's your favorite? And when, you know, 5. This is awesome.
Yeah,
I could
it's
just smell this forever.
and I gotta say, at Scotch Malt Whiskey Society bottles, if you come into the shop and you see what's left over after the outturn, it's usually the green labeled bottles that don't last. Like usually a lot of the peated whiskeys don't even hit the shelves. They sell out very quickly.
It's true. Yeah.
But I try not to pick the peated bottles as favorites in a lot of cases, but I really do like the nose on this one.
Perfect. And we're moving into winter, which means we can start buying more of them, even if you haven't
Absolutely.
laid off in the summer. It's just like now we can just really dive deep into the peat. And if your partners don't like the smell of peat, maybe just start a nice cozy fire at the fireplace and it'll cover up some of that.
Yeah, this is still a nose where I feel like I'm just like not even able to delve underneath the water of it.
I want
I'm gonna try
shrimp.
some water though. You want shrimp?
I do. I want shrimp with this.
Mhm.
Oh, it's
Water.
salty. I added water, it got saltier.
Yeah. When it does tease out a little bit more of like a sarsaparilla or cola note to it for me.
A little bit, yeah.
Oh, the palate's even better with water. That is really good stuff. Okay, any guesses on, well, first of all, this is 13 years old. Any guesses on region and or distillery on this one? I kind of think this one might surprise a few people, but we'll see.
Jordan says his partner tastes Christmas ham with clove and maple. There's some guesses of Leche, peated Glenturret.
Peated Glenturret, I could see.
Yeah.
This isn't weird enough to be a Lecheg for
No,
me.
definitely.
And Lecheg usually, like, Lecheg is a lot of things, but like, what's the word I'm looking for?
It's not offensive.
Tightly wound isn't necessarily one of them. it tends to be expressive to the point where it either makes you happy or angry, depending on who you are. Happy if you're Evan, angry if you're Kurt.
Yeah. I originally said Kalila. I still don't know if that's right or wrong.
Yeah.
Harmony, you're actually bang on. This is a Kalila.
I have that lemon in there, that lemon.
Yeah,
sticking
it
out.
does still have it, eh? This
Yeah.
is almost going into like grilled lemon, like barbecued lemon territory,
Yeah.
where it gets slightly Sharpie-esque.
Yeah, you can do some scallops with this, like a nice
Yeah,
scallopy pasta, you know?
yeah, with squid ink. Like it's got that sort of like darkness to it.
Yeah. Oh, I hate squid ink. Gross.
I don't mind it at all.
No.
It's good stuff. ABC, always be Kalila. I didn't know that was what that stands for, but I totally agree with you, Tyler. This is like, again, like Kalila is not a distillery that I tend to think of as making stealthy whiskey, but this is one stealthy whiskey for me. 53.433 is the number. So the 433rd cask from the Scotch Malt Whisky Society of Kalila, which is a pretty cool number there. Considering there's a distillery at number 60 where they've only done 30 some bottles of it.
Mhm.
And price on this Kalila is $235.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Mike says that more bottles than the rest of the tasting combined. I think it's close, but I think number 7 potentially makes that not happen. We'll see. Someone else will have to do the math, because I'm not I don't excel at spreadsheets, and I don't excel at math either.
But you do at puns.
I
Yeah.
excel at puns.
Your kids probably don't even appreciate how punny you
Oh
are.
my, Isla can roll her eyes so well because of how many puns and dad jokes I've given her in her 9 years. Like I live for that eye roll at this point. It's fun. And she has that like two-tone dad
Oh yeah, because she's
down
like,
so well
how
too.
old is she now?
9.
Yeah.
She's a smart cookie. She's got me figured out.
All right, let's do this juicy beast.
Will saying that this really tempers their spirit when it comes to Kalila. And I thought I was the one with the puns. I like that a lot. Yeah, apparently that Adelphi Kalila was fantastic, Will. I haven't tried it yet, but
Well, it's sold
Harmony
out
convinced
now.
me to take a tasting kit home, so
Yeah.
I'll have to try it out.
I refrained from buying one, and I bought the last bottle of this bourbon that we're not going to get back. And then I came back today and was like, oh, maybe I'll pick up, and it was gone. And I asked Andrew, can we get more? He's like, no, it's done. Dang it.
Well, somebody saved you some money.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that Kalila just blows me away. Like we had a slew of like super like licking the salt off a lime margarita note heavy Kalilas that were all in ex-bourbon that were all just fantastic. But then you try something like this and realize that it's not always like that. It can be something different, which is really neat. Okay, on to the second last of the night at home on the range, back to the big ABV. How's this one holding up?
I like the nose.
Yeah, I'm adding some water to this one just to see what happens. Don't think it needs it necessarily, considering it's 66%, but should take to it just fine. Wow, Water does not really open up the nose that much for me. Still sunflower seeds and lemons.
It felt like water muted the nose.
I totally agree.
Actually, it completely muted it.
Yeah.
Luckily, there's still a palate, but it's not what it
It's
was.
like it took that water like a sponge, like that it just soaked it up and it was never seen again.
Right? It needs that high alcohol.
Yeah. Chris says you still got to snort it. That's the only way.
It feels good.
At home on the range.
A little bit more fruit on the palate, but also a little bit more spice and heat on the finish
Yeah.
with water.
Yeah, with water you can feel those tannins a little bit more.
Still get that really cool dried pear note for me though. That sticks around. A little bit of pineapple. Pineapple seems to be my go-to right now for this tasting. Cashew nuts with chili lime powder on them as well. That spiciness on the finish. Oh, and I totally forgot that this is this distillery. Crazy. Now some of it kind of makes sense to me, but we'll see if it makes sense to you guys. So this is a HEILAN distillery. I should have asked because this might be a sister cask to something we had recently. And this might be, if I remember correctly, I think this is only the second time we've seen this distillery from the Scotch Malt Whisky Society of Canada. Anybody want to guess the distillery?
I'm getting those Jolly Rancher notes now.
Thank you, Will. Fact checker Will at it again. So Will knows the distillery then. I wouldn't have guessed this, but now that I've tasted it with knowing the name, it kind of makes sense. This is another Ben Nevis. Crazy stuff to have it this high alcohol as well. It's almost like they cooked the barrel after they put the whiskey in just to cut down that water. So 66.9% alcohol, 9-year-old, I believe, is it? Yeah, 9-year-old or 8-year-old, pardon me, Ben Nevis. Cask number is 78.62. And we had our first Ben Nevis and it was finished in a sherry cask. Was this back in, was it August? July or August. And it was called Lost Bodegas de Fort William, where it was the Fort William kind of gave away which distillery it was, because that's where the distillery is. Also gave away that it was done in or finished in sherry with the Lost Bodegas. But this one shows quite a bit differently than that one. That one was not this high alcohol, but it was very good. And this one does have that sort of like nutty, slightly meaty character that you would expect from Ben Nevis.
I think I need to try them side by side.
So it wouldn't be a sister cask because the Las Bodegas was a 10-year-old.
Oh, thank you, Chris.
Rather than an 8-year-old. And yes, it was in August. And I'm just looking at the note that I made, and there's tears because by the time I got around to go, oh shit, I should buy this one, it was gone.
Yep.
Because that was actually a pretty spectacular cask.
It was.
And
it was
reading this one too. It's really good.
It is. Yeah, Ben Nevis is one of those distilleries that has a growing following to it, where whiskey geeks have known about it for quite a while and tried to keep the name quiet, but it's slowly gotten out to the rest of us. And it's also a distillery we don't see a ton of. There's no official bottlings of it in Canada. Even in Scotland, there are some official bottlings, although there's not a ton of them. And that's because a lot of Ben Nevis is distilled and then shipped directly to Japan in a lot of cases, because it is owned by Nika, which also owns, well, it's one of the bigger Japanese whiskey companies, owning Yoichi and not Hakushu, Yoichi and Miyagekyo Distillery, and known for Nika from the Barrel and a lot of other really good whiskeys that come out of there.
Well, I have a fondness for Ben Nevis, accidentally acquired. And next time I see you in the shop, Evan, I will tell you how that happened. It cost me many more dollars than I'd intended to spend.
Well, if you have another 735 around, I've got a bottle for you.
No, I'm spending it on $6 bottles of the $135 Capradonna.
Nice. Well, speaking of price, the price on this Ben Nevis, I'll just share my screen here, is $171.99 for at home on the range. Second Ben Nevis we've seen from the Scotch Malt Whisky Society again. Yeah, really cool bottle again.
Man, the demand of whiskey is just driving those single digit age statements up and up and up, hey?
Yeah, no kidding. Well, it's one of the only ways to get a Ben Nevis where you don't pay in yen, I guess.
Sorry, I'm muted.
Sorry, Chris, we had to mute you there. It was a little bit just off there and jarring. Will saying $20 a decade is a hefty margin. Yeah, agreed. Had to turn down a single cast today because it was approaching that, sadly. But hopefully that's not the way of things. But let's move on to a happier topic with whiskey number 7. So, is this from Trinidad, Ileach, or Kennethmont, wherever Kennethmont is? Will, fact checker Will, where is Kennethmont? Or Mont? Yeah, I guess I should have guessed that, eh?
Scotland.
Will, is Kennethmont a good hint at the location of this distillery?
I think he's buying time with his cheeky remarks there and emojis. He's fact checking as fast as
That's right.
Internet will allow him.
Yep.
It smells like a turtles candy. Like the
Oh
turtles.
man, good call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can.
So
go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you Google Map Kennethmont, and all you have to do is just look at the distilleries nearby, and it's like an easy bicycle ride, or maybe a nice walk. It's
So
also
there are.
hits.
That makes sense now why people would guess this one. So Highlands, of course, is where Kennethmont is then, and that is where the distillery is as well. This is from Ardmore Distillery.
There you go,
And
Ardmore forever. You
that's right.
have a winner.
Yeah, I may have hinted at Ardmore Forever that he should attend this tasting for some reason.
I feel like you may have as well. I'm just surprised that we're not finding Andrew's tasting notes in here. Like it's not as like farty and manure as some of the other Ardmores we had.
I peeked beneath the mask at some point there, Ardmore Forever. I'm well aware of who that is.
Yeah.
And the mask does a poor job of hiding that beard as well.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Will says, I have to say the new to me peated distilleries are excellent. And by that, I mean Lecheg, Loch Lombards, and Ardmore. Yeah, agreed. All three distilleries have been doing some fantastic whiskey lately. It's a shame that we don't see more Ardmore like in an official packaging done well.
Mhm.
Most of what they produce, or a lot of what they produce, they're a workhorse distillery and they were sort of purpose built to as a distillery just before the turn of the century, from 1800s to 1900s, to make whiskey for Teacher's Highland Cream. I think it was the blend. Still features quite a bit in there, and yeah, there's not a whole lot of official bottlings to really talk about when it comes to Ardmore, sadly, but plenty of independent bottlings that are always really good.
Yeah, I was actually having a conversation with the Beam rep today, because she was like, we have Ardmore Legacy on sale. And I said, oh man, I wish you could do your core bottlings as good as independent bottlings, because
No kidding.
if that was your first introduction, which it
Oh,
was
man.
for me, you'd almost never want to try it again. But in the last like just 5 years, the independent bottlings just seem to be getting better and better.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just like buying new make and doing full maturation on their own, or just buying younger and doing more finishes. I'm not sure, but I feel like we're almost approaching a time where very soon we could do an Ardmore Forever tasting,
Oh, easily.
or would actually show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Ardmore Forever would probably buy all the tickets and nobody else would be able to attend, but he'd be a happy guy at least.
That was the theme of his last birthday.
That's right. Which had a fantastic birthday cake that his kids made him, apparently. That was, I saw that picture on Facebook and it was amazing.
It was awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, Ardmore Legacy, we had it in our whiskey calendar about 2 years ago. I think it was the 2021 version. And the only problem with it is at 40% alcohol, and it is such a huge problem. It's a whiskey that needs to be tasted at higher strength, because you cut it down to 40% alcohol and it just tastes like smoky cardboard. There's nothing there. But if you have it in the concentrated cask strength way that it's supposed to be tasted, it is a fantastic whiskey that is so breakfast driven for me, where you get all these sweet malty notes underneath the smoke, where it's like you've got a Sunday breakfast with like pancakes and syrup and smoky bacon and fruit on the side, and you're just eating it all at once.
Yeah, it's the gourmet breakfast of camping.
It is. And then you throw it in a Trinidad rum cask and get something that's even sweeter in style. That's really cool.
What a great idea.
Yeah. This one works so well.
Have we revealed the price on this?
I'm waiting until Ardmore Forever just buys them all up before I reveal that.
He's online right now. Right?
$7 and I'm gonna buy them all, because
So cask number is 66. Cask number is 66.228. So the 228th cask from Ardmore Distillery. This is 9 years old, but a very expressive 9-year-old, which doesn't seem young. It just seems really well put together. From the 10th of September 2012, spent 7 years in an ex-bourbon barrel before transferring to a Trinidad rum barrel for the rest of its life. And price is $164.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that is, if you even remotely like peated whiskey, that is a hard whiskey not to enjoy. So
that one, even if you're just like, I'm not getting a ton of peat off of that one because there's so much fruit and everything. I could actually probably take that one and introduce people to peated whiskeys with that one.
I totally agree, and it's got this like near perfect combination of sweet and peat at the same time to make it just super enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like hitting somebody over the head with an Ardbeg or a Lafroig or distillery bottlings. It's this beauty. It's a beautiful whiskey. It really is.
Yeah, it's not caveman whiskey the way a lot of those deep and dark and brooding Islas can be.
No, this one's lovely. It's And of the rum cask finished ones that I've had, admittedly, it's not a ton. This is by far the best.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. So unfortunately, I cannot stick around because my wife has to go to work now. So I gotta pretend to be sober and in case the kids need help, although they're all hopefully in bed. But thank you all for joining us. I hope you really enjoyed the tasting. I don't know Harmony or Marnie if you guys want to stick around. If not, I can always pass this on to Chris, who does great co-hosting duties after the tasting's all done. But thank you guys again. Hopefully we'll see you at another virtual tasting soon. If not, well, hopefully in November for the next virtual.
Right on.
Cheers, guys. Have a great night.